everyone. It's so nice to have you all with us tonight. I do believe that you're in for a real treat. This exhibit, Casting Shadows, is absolutely amazing. And the exhibit's juror, Jessica Lempin, is even more amazing. What a fantastic job Jessica has done pulling this exhibition together for all of us. In addition to curating this amazing exhibit, Jessica helps to curate the art available on the Photo Art Pavilion platform. She has curated art for commercial spaces, working directly with art buyers and art collectors. She conducts photography workshops, and she teaches both software and camera skills for photographers. So as you can see, Jessica has turned a childhood fascination with photography into a passionate and dedicated art career. But I've just scratched the surface with Jessica's talents in the field of art photography. So I'll let her expertise speak for itself as she guides us through casting shadows.
Excellent. Thank you, Joanne, for that lovely intro. And we do have a lot to go through. So before we get started, I do want to just say a little bit before we jump into the show itself. So first off, I am truly honored to be able to be the juror for Casting Shadows, which is such a captivating collection of artwork. Typically, light is the star of photography and creating moments of clarity and focus. However, this exhibit flips that notion, placing shadows at the forefront. So it's a intriguing shift, inviting us to see the world from a different perspective. The selection process, I have to say, was definitely challenging and inspiring. I aimed to showcase a variety of subjects that truly focused on shadows. While many image submissions featured shadows or darkness, not all embraced shadows as its main subject, which is the heart of this exhibit, Casting Shadows. I also want to say that thank you for, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that we also received many entries focusing on reflections. Now, which definitely the art was stunning and beautiful in its own right. I didn't feel that that art spoke to this exhibit. So tonight you're going to see art that stood out for how it elevates the shadows to the main focus, revealing their depth, texture, and interaction with the world. I love seeing the imagination of these artists come through. They remind us of the beauty in the unseen, the play between the light and the darkness, and the spaces where imagination can wander. I'm thrilled to share this exhibit with you and hope to find as much joy and wonder in this work as I have. So let's jump into it. We'll walk you through, and I'm going to show you all of the art and why I selected it. So, oops, sorry. There we go. So tonight I have to say thank you, Joanne, again for the intro. So Joanne Hennig, who is CEO of Photo Art Pavilion, and I'm COO. So Photo Art Pavilion is a community where we help art photographers shop and display, or art buyers shop and photographers display their work. We also go ahead and do different workshops and tours, and of course, the virtual exhibits. So Casting Shadows. So tonight's presentation of this captivating captivating collection of photographs, each exploring a variety of themes with a central focus on shadow as a main subject. We invite you to discover the images that capture the essence of unique perspective, revealing the artistic vision behind the lens. So as Joanne introduced me before, yes, I am Jessica Lempin, and these are just some of the images that I have captured along my own personal journey. So now we all want to jump into it. We want to see the art. So let's do it. So first, oh, I just need to adjust this. I do apologize. So this image is Flying Saucer by Filkri Valtros. This image to me was stunning between the negative space, the way the shadow itself is connecting to the darkness within the cup itself. It definitely was a intertwining subject matter. I definitely thought this was a unique perspective, something that I probably would not have caught myself, but this is definitely caught my eye. Oops, did it again. There we go. Hold on. All right. This image is titled Court by Janice Chicho. And I thought it was a rather interesting take on almost like a self photograph or a selfie. Again, with the negative space, I love that there's color. It's not converted to black and white. The green of the shoes, the green of the court, the lines within the court, and the placement of the shadow itself. This one is titled Trees, Skylands by John Doyle. I found it quite interesting. The scene, the shadows pull you into the trees. The trees themselves are almost identical. So you have that center tree, and then either side is represented or mirrored in this scene. And I thought that was a really interesting moment to capture. I definitely like the brightness behind the trees and the shadows. It definitely helps add that contrast and helps to pull you through that image. And that's why it caught my eye. So morning, we all have these in our portfolios. I know we do, with the morning sunrise, the beach dune, the fence, and that shadow of the fence pulling you in, pulling you into that sun. So I do like how this image kind of pulled you in to the light of the actual photo itself. That shadow really connecting your main, the overall scene itself. So thank you, Paul, for that. Natural Invasion by B.A. Bliss. This to me was quite fascinating. So here it's a shadow, which is then added some color and texture to it and really made an interesting abstract piece here. I'm liking the contrast of the colors, but really that darkness of the shadow that just kind of dominates the frame itself. So as a fellow art photographer, this is something I probably would not have seen or been able to produce a piece like this. So that's why I tend to gravitate to the unique scenes like this. So good job, B.A. Bliss. Looked Out by Frank Soma. So how creative. So you have, a standard shot, if you will, with the colors, the details and everything. And then that shadow just really makes the item that's obviously not a shadow, really just creates that overall scene. So the shadow itself is the human and, is almost like taking hold of that board. And I thought that was such a unique perspective to show a shadow like that, a shadow in motion. All right, Pair with Shadow by Tom Costes. So this is pretty straightforward kind of shot. It does take time to set it all up and really capture that moment. I like the way the line separates the foreground from the background. Nice clean lines, and then you have the shadow of the pair that does pull you into that scene itself. So I like the way the details are in this and how it was portrayed. So good job, Tom. Let's see. So Resilient Journey by Latoya Carey. So this was pretty interesting. I kept going back and forth with this image. There's just something about the shadow as the face. It's almost like the soul of the person. You could, put any kind of idea of a person that you have that maybe served in military and so on, and in that moment. And there's just something about that shadow to me, really taken hold. Because usually when you see a portrait, it's always about the face, it's always about the eyes. But here it is the shadow. And to me, it just kept coming back to it. So well done, Latoya. All right, this is Along the Wall by Rudy Pizzi. I think that's how you say it. I apologize if not. Again, it's like shadow in motion. You have the lines of the shadows against the wall. You have, I guess, I'm assuming a firefighter running through. Looks like it's semi of a little bit longer exposure, creating that motion. And it just kind of created the story for me that I kept gravitating to. Next is Vertical Shadows by Arvid Garg. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that correct. I did. Okay, good. I just saw you nodding. So this image, I liked how, it's a bird eye perspective. The shadows are much larger than the objects that they're representing. And it's just this nice motion. So you're coming in from that bottom right corner, and everything just kind of blends in, and then your eye kind of follows through, and then your eye develops that scene, or your brain starts to interpret what's actually going on. So this was kind of interesting to me, which is why I added it into the collection for tonight. And yeah, well done, Arvid. All right, this one is Up the Ladder to the Roof by Renee Crystal. There was just something really simple and yet pulling in this. So to me, I'm seeing an A with this scene with the shadow. So the shadow of the ladder is really pulling together the overall scene here. The pipe that goes across the brick wall, it's creating that line. So now you have an A shape. So it's definitely something that I wouldn't have picked up if I was in that position, but it was very interesting. I also liked how they darkened the top of the building itself. It really adds that drawer up into the roof line. So again, just a different take, and I do like that shadow of the ladder itself really connecting everything. All right, this is Infinity by Fikri Botros. I definitely see the infinity. So I like how that shadow is dominant within this frame as far as the size of it, and how it perfectly connects to the chair itself. Well, I'm assuming it's a chair. I could be wrong. But there's just some sort of visual uh, connectiveness that I just really enjoyed in this scene. You have the textures of the ground or the wall. Again, I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at, but it's the actual idea of that infinity sign being seen, and it's just everything is connecting. I don't know. I just kept gravitating to this. So well done, Fikri. All right, Strange Shapes by Rosalie Post. Now, this I thought was pretty interesting. So it's a color photo, not converted to black and white. You have all these different shadows connecting these different elements within this building, and it's just quite fascinating. I feel like I'm constantly picking up different elements, and my eye is moving around in this scene. And again, those shadows are just pulling you into the different areas. Like if your eye is looking over in that blue area, it's pulling you into that column. And same thing on the left hand side, where those shadows on those lighter columns, or I don't know, whatever they are, it pulls you in to that center of the frame. And I definitely think that the shadows were well represented here in this scene. All right, now we have Broken by Jean Carter. Quite interesting, loving the texture, loving those shadow lines within this frame. There's just such a nice organic movement with this. And again, it's the texture, it's that shadow, it's pulling you through, and also the different tones with that shadow. Again, it kept catching my eye within the overall select entries for the show. So good job, Jean. All right, we have Beach Fence by Jack Calandra. So I thought this scene was pretty interesting for the fact that the shadows obviously dominate the frame, but they also create a heart. So I don't know if you guys see that. If just tilt your head a little bit, all of a sudden this fence turns into a heart. And I just thought that was such a nice moment and a nice way to use those shadows to create something a little bit more grand. All right, so now we have the Lincoln Memorial by Milfred Friedrich. And the shadows here, so now you have that contrast of the shadow and the light, and it's repeating through this scene. But to me, those shadows connect better than the light. and it pulls you through into that hallway, that column, into the actual memorial. And to me, those shadows just really truly stand out. You have the texture of the shadows of the pillars and so on within the scene, and it just kind of pulls you in. All right. We have Crab Feast by Addison Lickens. Sorry again if I don't pronounce that correctly. I do apologize. So this is quite of a reflection, but at the same point, the way the texture is in this scene, it just seems like that bird is connecting to its shadow itself. And it's, to me, was just quite interesting. So it's a little bit beyond a reflection and a little bit more of a shadow in my mindset. And to see the bird itself capturing the crab, lobster, crayfish, not sure. Um, it's just, it's quite interesting, especially the details within that shadow below the crustacean itself. All right, we have Dining Room Wall by Vidor. Quite dreamy. Here, the shadows truly stand out. It's creating this abstract scene that just, I don't know, it's dream like, and I thought it was quite unique compared to all the other entries. And obviously you could pick out different little elements where there's a bouquet of flowers there in a vase and so on, and this all in a dreamy manner. So well done for having a unique vision with this capture. Oh, there we go. Okay. So Table for Two by Frank Samoma. This was interesting as far as the lines themselves and those circles with the shadow circles. The I don't know, it again, it's almost like that other scene of the chair where everything's perfectly connecting. Being that's converted to black and white, it just looks a little bit more like the shadows all of a sudden become a main subject. And everything is connecting and just kind of works together in this unique flow. So it kept catching my eye, and here we are. All right, See Me Supplicate by Arthur Fields. So a quite interesting blurry shadow. It's more abstract than anything else, but yet you get that sense of a being. It definitely caught my eye. It's a unique piece where the light itself gives you essence, but that shadow really remains in the forefront, giving you that unique perspective. All right, Steel Building by William Horvath. I don't know, I love it. It has great tones. You have that true sense of dark with a true sense of light. You have those shadows that are just developing within the frame, where again you have the darker shadows to the lighter shadows, and it just kind of moves your eye up. To have the darker shadows in the lower half of the frame and work your way up to a lighter shadowing, definitely helps to pull the eye, and everything kind of connects. I thought this was just something nice and clean as far as the main subject being shadows. All right, we have Lace on White. Lace White on White by Alessandra Donovan. So I thought it was interesting. You have the crack of a shadow and then the shadow of the flowers. And it's almost like it all kind of connects and works in this frame. It's definitely a unique piece from what I would typically select or even see myself out in the field. But there's just something about that dark shadow between the two, I'm assuming cement pieces, that just kind of splits the scene, but also connects the scene. So we have Untitled by Andy Ilitsky. I'm sorry. I feel like I always have a hard time with your name, but thank you for understanding. This was quite interesting. I almost feel like you have three different ways of seeing the scene because of the three different sections here. And the shadows kind of morph and change, but yet also stay uniform. So there was just something that was quite interesting. Whereas, the leaves change, it looks like it's a reflection of a tree through a window with the shadows within the window itself, and the lines, the abstract moments in this, it just kind of seems truly interesting. You had this printed up on a wall, you'd be able to look at this and see different elements any given time that you're looking at it. So this is why it caught my eye. Early Morning Walk NYC by Jim Allen. So here's a shadow selfie. I think we should coin that shadow selfie. And anyway, so I like the placements, how that sun was making him extra long there in the legs, and yet he's able to position himself perfectly within that brighter area to really demonstrate the shadow itself. I thought it was a creative and fun way to capture yourself. All right, A Parallel Universe by Fikri Botras. Um, I kept looking at this and I thought it was pretty fascinating just for the fact that you're kind of upside down. The birds themselves with the shadows are the focus because now the shadows are the birds, if you will. The people obviously are shadows, but the way it's positioned, you're actually like upside down. And I kept coming back to it. I'm like, there's something interesting about this. And it's definitely caught my eye and made me stop a couple of times. Um, but those shadows really take over the whole entire scene and create that story of the birds walking. All right, Entry Level by Roger Archibald. So kind of interesting. This gentleman almost is the shadow, is merging into being a shadow, the way the light's hitting. I just thought it was a pretty interesting moment that this photographer caught. So you have that really heavy shadow coming down, and then you have the gentleman walking into it. And it's almost like he's starting to merge as a shadow into this world. Again, a unique perspective, pretty interesting. You definitely put a different storyline behind it, but it caught my eye and it was just pretty clever the way this is captured. All right, Going in Circles by Alessandra Donovan. So at first, I kept focusing on the actual plant holders, but really the true magic is those shadows. They create, because of the way the plants are in those circles and the way the lights are, these dominant shadows really look like eyes and eyelashes. It's so fascinating, at least in my head, the way I'm interpreting these images, these shapes. I thought that was a really fascinating thing to see. Now, just kind of thinking of it, I almost think that Going in Circles, the title should change to like The Eyes Have It or something like that, a little bit more creative and a little bit more focused on those shadows, and maybe even flipping this image upside down to really focus on that. But the scene kept catching me. It really is creative and fascinating. It's basically two themes in one. All right, here's Sculpture Gallery Glass House by John Doyle. This was interesting, simple, but everything good, I think. So I'm loving the darker shadows on that top rafter, if you will. And then you have the middle section of this photo. It's very clean shadows. I like the lines and how it's, obviously picking up the rafters above, and then duplicating it on each level of these walls. I'm loving the contrast of the shadow versus the white brick behind it. It just is a very strong shadow piece. All right, Talon's Painted Hills by Jack Stranton. I love when you find things in Mother Nature and it just kind of sucks you in. So these are one of those scenes that, it's these beautiful hills, if you will, with the shadows, and it's just so dynamic. So obviously the scene was converted to black and white, which really enhanced those shadows, and that curvature within the section of the world. And it just kept pulling me, that darkness of that shadow, just really commanding. So darkness of the shadow within the center of the scene, because there are two different elements here. So that section right there to me just kept pulling me in. It creates that motion, it demands that attention in the scene, and I just kept coming back to this, not to mention the different shadowing within the hills itself on the other side of that dark shadow. So well done. Transitional Self 11 by Arthur Fields. So I like that's not converted to black and white. You're seeing this shadowy person, if you will, with the color. And it just kind of is such an interesting abstract way of photographing whatever truly your main subject is here. But the darkness, the shadows within it just pulls you. So you're going to the light, but you're really pulling down into that shadow element within the scene. So this kept catching my eye as well. All right. Am I There by Alessandra Donovan. So again, a shadow selfie. I didn't want to have two in here, but this kept pulling me in as well. To have this scene so bright, so clean and clear, and then that shadow still overpowers the scene itself. I just kept coming back to this, and I was gravitating to that selfie, that shadow selfie. All right, Now Seating by Roger Archibald. Pretty interesting. The more I kept looking at this scene, the more my eyes kept moving around. And these shadows just keep pulling you in. It's a very simple subject matter, but at the same point, those shadows really add a new dynamic range and a new dynamic way to see the scene itself. At Rest in the Sky by Jack Stratton. So again, Mother Nature and those shadows with the hills and so on. I'm loving the contrast of the bright light with those shadows of the that hillside, that mountainside. It just really pulled me in. Even having that mist or that shadowing below and pulling you up as well. It just kept catching my eye. All right, Morning Glow by Michael Frank. So this scene's obviously a contrast between that light and that shadow and the darkness in this forest and this scene. And what kept pulling me in are the shadows below, the darkness. It's almost like it's just pulling you up, and then you're just pulling into the different trees and so on. And where that light's not shining, it's just pulls you in a little bit further into different elements. It's a well done capture. It's very interesting. Loving the colors all throughout, but the shadow work in here kept pulling me over to see this. Let's see. Try to move to the next one. There we go. All right, Second Half by Roger Archibald. So it's the shadow in that middle. So the gentleman here to me is, going through, and that shadow is almost like it's just separating the scene itself and pulling the gentleman in. Between the shadow where the guy is walking to that split in the scene itself, and then going into, it's almost like he's transitioning into that shadow space. So for me, the shadows here kind of create that story, that pulling or that urgency for this gentleman. All right, Blackbird Singing in the Dark of Night by Michael Leibling. So not sure if that's actually a blackbird singing, but it's such a fascinating shadow of what could be. It's almost like like when you're a kid and you see the different shadows and it haunts you. This to me is one of those scenes that is quite fascinating. I like that it's not a black and white scene, that he left it as a colored scene, and that shadow is just this interesting creature almost. Again, now taking that shadow and making it into the main subject. This is what this exhibit is all about. So Shadow Garden, Thistles and Dandelions by Christy Kern. So it's a pretty simple shot, but at the same point, this is something I would not have seen, I would not have photographed. And I think that's the beauty of it, is seeing work that somebody else is doing that is outside your norm. And to be able to see these shadows of these plants, these weeds, if you will, it just creates a different sense of beauty. Really, again, just inverting what you would typically want to see in a photo. I think the lines are interesting. The way she has obviously the lighter shadow of the dandelion versus the darker plants. There's nice dynamic range across the board in these shadows. Homage to Harel, I think I said that right, by Bobby Lane. So what I liked about this is the empowerment of that shadow. That shadow's bigger than her. It's taken on a new life. And it's almost like her alter ego coming out. But that shadow to me just commands the scene itself. I thought that was a pretty interesting way to capture. All right, Porch Shadows, Mickney Art Museum 4 by Jeremy Harrison. So you got this battle of the light and the dark, but yet to me in this scene, the shadows are overpowering. They command the scene itself. You have this nice motion of the lines within the scene. And it's just one of those things too. I don't think if I was out, I wouldn't have photographed this. It's outside of my norm. But again, it's that cohesiveness of the shadows themselves and the pattern that it creates within the subject matter here. All right, Verdog Road at the Golden Hour by Arlene Vidor. So you have really, it's almost like two scenes here. So you have those people far out in the distance, and then you have these shadow people. And the texture of the scene is quite interesting, but really it's those shadow people, at least I'm assuming they're people, that are kind of pulling you. It's almost like it's like a dream world of these shadow things coming to get those people. So I thought it was kind of an interesting scenario, something interesting to photograph and to put together like this. Also, the way the shadow subject is within this curvature of that land, it's just, I don't know, to me it's just definitely interesting capture, something that again I would not have sought after if I was photographing this area. Right, Skinny Tree on North Boulevard by Norman Gabansky. Again, I hope I said that correctly. So this tree definitely overtakes the scene, but also it's the shadows of the tree itself, of those branches. To me, it's almost like it's the roots. It's like this tree is just continuing below the tree stump itself. And again, it's pulling you into the overall tree. So those shadows are helping and assisting in this scene. Definitely, again, a battle between that light and dark. I'm liking how the shadows of the other trees are pulling into this as well. Nice, it's a nice strong subject here. All right, Ghost Pianos by Samantha Olitchin. I like the motion in this. I like how the subject itself is a shadow. It's not focused. It's kind of a dynamic take in this capture. And I kept coming back to this. It's almost like a white shadow overlaying onto this person itself. Interesting style. Shadow of the Buddha by Linda Lombardo. So I love the placement of the statue and the shadow within this scene. So you definitely have two different competing subjects, if you will. But I love how the shadow is what is complete in the scene, whereas the statue is only half. And that shadow to me is strong enough to pull you in a little bit further. I'm also liking what looks like there could be an overlay or additional shadows within this scene by the shadow statue. I mean the statue shadow. Sorry. All right, Light, Shadow, and Form 31 by Mark Scharfman. So the shadows themselves on this lady's body to me was quite interesting for the fact that they actually kind of go with the motion of the body. I thought that was a pretty interesting pattern, if you will, or shadow pattern on the main subject. And the lines themselves of these shadows just help to enhance the curvature of the woman. Soft Constriction in the Eyes by Abby Lee Sutton. I thought this was pretty unique. As far as having the person, now I don't know if this is like a selfie of the artist shooting themselves within the scene, or if it's someone else within the scene, but it's quite interesting. The more you look at it, the more the different shadows and lines connect and pull you into different areas within the scene. It is a little bit busy, but at the same point, it's pretty interesting the way the shadows work within the scene itself. On the Edge of the Shadow by Janet Powers. So again, you have that shadow of the ridge, that darkness that pulls you in, the shadows of the people, and then you have that light on the other side of basically the negative space there. And I thought this was just a interesting moment that this artist captured. The lines themselves, again, pulling you in with those shadows. Love in the Shadows by Kimberly Webb. Such a cute little capture here. I'm loving that it's not just black and white. It's, it's been colorized and altered just a bit, but it is quite dynamic in how you're able to see the scene. Cute little storyline there, and the textures within it and the shadows and so on. It's all really nice, and I love that white space around the kids themselves, the added shadow piece. Patio Chair at Noon by Frank Simolo. This was quite interesting. So again, I was really fascinated the way the lines themselves connect with the object, and it kind of creates this new object itself. So here the main shadows really are taking over the scene. All right, now we have Interior Shadows by Arvid Garg. Sorry. So I like the movement and the textures within this photograph. You have all the different shadows that are playing out. You have the light, but you also have that dark shadowing connecting and pulling you in. I just thought it was quite interesting with the different textures going on with the shadows. If my computer is slowing down, I do apologize. There we go. All right. Mystique Flat, Golden Hour by Arlene Vidor. So similar idea in the other image as far as the shadow, the elongation of a shadow selfie. But in this, I love the motion of the hands, the scene itself. You have the different lines of the steps, just all kind of working in this scene itself. So well done. Oh, that was it. So like I said in the beginning, it really is fascinating the different creative ways that everyone has presented their shadows. And I got to tell you, out of all the entries, I mean, this was a really interesting and a really hard exhibit to jury, just for the fact that there were so many amazing pieces, and I could only put in so many into the show itself. So I do want to say congratulations to everyone who made it in. Sorry about that. And I guess now it's like a drum roll time. I do see we have quite a bunch of comments, but we'll do that in a moment. I think, right, Joanne? We want to present the awards. Should we let everyone see what's going on?
Yes, and most of the comments are from me.
Oh,
I'm just commenting along with your commentary.
Okay, perfect. Well then, that makes it easier. All right, so the awards. Here we go. Is everyone ready? Let's do it. So first, the honorable mention goes to Going in Circles by Alessandra Donovan. So as I said before, I thought this was such a creative capture, you know, the focus of the shadows. Those shadows look like eyes. The eyes are really just some plants and these circle objects, and the way the lights are. I just thought this was such a unique and creative capture. So congratulations, Alessandra Donovan. Alessandra, if you are here, do you want to just take a moment to share the behind the scenes or any kind of information you have from this moment? If you're
Sure.
here. Ooh, you're here. Fantastic.
So this was on a wall at an exhibit, and I was just passing by there, and I just love the texture of the wall. Initially, what I looked at was the contrast between the wall, the texture of the wall, the how the circles were smooth, and then the plants going all over the place. And the more I looked at it, the more and the light was just coming in the right way. And so this is actually taken in color. It's not been changed. This is the way it was. And I just really like, and I actually printed on canvas, really, really large. And it's, I really like it. Thank you for your commentary.
Okay.
I have a question for Alessandra.
Yes.
Did you see the eyes when you were photographing this, or is this?
Nope.
No.
Nope, I did not.
That's amazing.
And
and the lashes, and I do enjoy the different intensity of the shadows. Some of them are very dark, others are lighter. There's a lot going on here, and the textures of the wall really help as well.
thank you. Now that you said that about the eyes, though, now I can't unsee it, right?
Yeah, what you see,
so
you
now,
can't unsee it.
right, and I mean, I just like the way there are shadows they go down, shadows they go across. It was just like a whole thing. So thank you so much for your comments. I really appreciate it.
Okay. My other thought is like flip it, like do a 180 and like check it out flipped. It might be really more fascinating that way, because then now like the eyes are even more apparent. But
I might do that. Thank you.
no problem. Excellent. All right. So now third place. It goes to Latoya Carey for Resilient Journey. So again with this, like this scene to me is just so interesting. It's a simple shot, but yet those shadows to me are just right on as far as the face. I don't know if you went in and just darkened that a little bit more to really create that shadow effect, but there's just something about this. Like it just keeps speaking to me. So congratulations, Latoya Carey. If you're here, please feel free to jump in, share us a little background on the scene. I don't know.
Hello?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, actually, it's a husband and wife team, but I'm the actual photographer for this. My name is James Carey. And this is part of a yearly exhibition that we put on down here in Daytona Beach, Florida. And this is of a gentleman. He's actually a sergeant. He's in his last year of service, and he's getting set to retire. And so what we wanted to do is just say a farewell to his time of service. And so, and no, we didn't actually have to darken the face at all. We just angled the light so that the brim of the hat actually cast that shadow down on his face, just to really highlight, hey, listen, I'm out of this. I'm gonna go back to my civilian life and just really take over from there. So he's just giving his last farewell.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that background. To me, it's kind of interesting too. It's almost like as if it was a fallen soldier as well, just for the fact of the shadowiness. I don't know, totally not a word, but I just love how it speaks volumes to me. So congratulations on getting third.
I think it's a very powerful image, just the way he's positioned, the way you have him posed in the shot. And also there's just a lot of detail off the uniform. If you just kind of look throughout the face, I get it, just that's very compelling to keep staring at that, but going through the body position, him holding the bag, the textures and the creases in the uniform. There's just a lot going on in this image, and it's just perfectly balanced. The midtones, the darks and the lights are just absolutely perfect. Really great work, James and Latoya.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so is everyone ready? Here comes second place. It goes to Frank Samoa for Flipped Out. Now, I thought this was such a unique and creative capture. Here you have the skateboarder jumping, and then the skateboard itself. So you have that interesting dynamic. So I'm assuming, I don't know, I'm assuming it's two different captures put together. It's a composite. I don't know, but I love the idea of that shadow being the person who is skateboarding and you don't actually see them in the scene. So I thought that was a really interesting and creative way, because again, I would not have captured that if I was in that area. So Frank, I don't know if you're here with us tonight. I would love to know more about this moment and so on. So if you are here, please feel free to unmute and jump in.
There it is. Okay.
Ooh,
Hi.
hello, Frank.
Hi. Hey, hi.
Hi.
No, not a composite. It's like, just being playful, making the shadow the subject, even though obviously the skateboard is the main element in the picture. The shadow really seemed to me to be the subject of the picture, just because of its juxtaposition there. It kind of takes over the scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've always been into shadows, and most of us who grew up on black and white kind of like know that how important shadows can be. So I'm kind of like shadow aware. So I was just being playful here. Oftentimes I'll go out and just look at the shadow and not the subject and try to make something out of it, just like this. So caught a lucky moment there and got some good timing, so it worked out good. And by the way, thank you very much for judging this. I know how hard that must be. It must be a labor of love for sure. So I appreciate that. Appreciate your time and effort.
Thank you, Frank. Now, I just have one more question. So is this, I guess it is the same person's skateboard, just the skateboard's falling before them?
Yeah, right. So he flipped. He literally flipped out. So he's up in the air.
Okay.
And the skateboard coming down. And so I got him out of the picture because he's kind of like up like another foot. I was able to just capture that without him being in the picture. So there's somebody actually really there.
Okay. So during my jurying process, I kept seeing the image like this. So I perhaps alter the image, just rotate it and see how you feel with it, because I feel like,
yeah, I kind of like that angle. I like that angle. That whole angle thing, like kind of like really works for me in the frame. It's kind of strong for me, the diagonal there. So yeah.
It's all good. It's just funny because I just
thank you.
But a creative capture. So thank you so much for entering this into the open call. Congrats.
Appreciate you.
All right, are we ready for first place? I know I am. All right, first place goes to, oh, we're just waiting for my computer, I'm sorry. Not to be
Oh,
dramatic.
the drama.
Hold on. It's not going. Hold on. Let's try that again. Oh, wait, we soared for a second. Okay. I do apologize. First place goes to Filkri Botchas for Flying Saucer. So for me, the scene was so simple, yet so powerful, with the shadow connecting to the main subject and just really making it into a full-on unique capture. That obviously the shadow is dominating the scene, but yet it's fluent with the main subject. The negative spacing, I like the other detail shadows within the scene itself. To me, there's just so much, but really it's that dark shadow of the cup connecting to the whatever the emptiness or that beverage inside the cup. It's just more so that creative lines and connectiveness, but well done. Filkri, if you're here tonight, please feel free to unmute and join in on the conversation. I'd love to know, did you sit around playing with this to catch that moment, or is this something that just happened?
Jessica, I don't believe he could be with us tonight.
Oh, no.
He did send an email earlier saying that he was traveling.
Okay.
And could not be with us. But I totally agree with you on this being the strongest shadow piece in this exhibit. It's really powerful, and really cool, actually.
Like even the rim around the cup itself, obviously that's like a shadow as well. It just ties everything in. There's just so many shadow elements with this. But yes, congratulations.
You must have said shadow about 80,000 times.
I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize.
But that's the theme.
We got it right. All right, moving on. So
very good.
Congratulations. We want to take a moment to thank all of the photographic artists who have entered the open call, along with all of you who have joined us tonight. We hope you all enjoyed viewing the beautiful art in tonight's conversation. But wait, there's more. All art is available for sale, so contact us here at Photo Art Pavilion for further details. You can give us a call or email us at hello@photoartpavilion.com. So thank you, everyone, for joining us and being a part of the Casting Shadows, one more time, Casting Shadows juried exhibit.
Yeah,
yes.
very, very great.
Cheers.
Great work, Jessica. I applaud you. Not an easy one.
No, definitely was not easy, but it was definitely a fun challenge to do and to be a part of. That's it.
That's it. We'll see you at the next one.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome evening.